Anyone that's listening to this recording, this is Judy Morrow, EPM Corporate Trainer. This recording is for session 7 of the 5.8 upgrade trainings, and this is going to be covering the 5.8 changes that will be happening in optical management. During this session, we're going to talk about how the application currently exists and the functionality that's in it, and what it is that we're adding in 5.8, which is going to be a huge change for optical management. I'm going to share my desktop. Let me just shut down my email here real quick. All right. And we're going to be talking about the addition of transaction entry in optical management. Previously, in versions of optical management to 5.8, management was considered strictly a inventory software. A client absolutely had to have, in order to use Optic, they still have to have EPM. If they have EHR, it's even better because they can utilize it to pull prescriptions in. But one of the main things between EPM and optical management was, just give this a moment for this siren to pass. I think I'm just getting louder and louder. Right. One of the differences now that we've made in 5.8 is we've added the ability for what used to be nothing but an inventory tool to be a financial tool as well. Not completely as what EPM is. I mean, you still can't do claims on it or anything like that. But it used to be the only thing you could do in optical management was to create an order. And that could be for contacts or glasses or accessories. And accessories to us mean things like cleaning clothes and also like chains for eyeglasses, cases for contacts and glasses. And also, we could have discounts. So if in a newspaper, in a magazine, or at a doctor's office, you received a coupon that said that if you have your eye exam here, we can give you 25% off on your purchase in our optical shop. Well, it's also what our opticians were still able to do in Optic. So Optic, they can currently, in the versions prior to 5.8, apply a discount. And how those discounts work. Discounts are immediate. It's not like any other process in payments and things where there's a delay. So we're going to talk about everything regarding transactions. How many people on the call ever worked with or been in Optic before, either training, testing, supporting in any way? How many people have actually seen Optic before? Okay. I think average on these calls have been 2 people out of the sessions. And large sessions where there's maybe only 1 or 2 people that know it. For those of you that don't know Optic, please make sure that you ask any questions during the session if you're not understanding something that I'm showing you in Optic. But I definitely want to try to get you to understand where we are now with the application and what it does comparatively to what's coming out in 5.8 because it is such a huge difference. Just remember this. Optical management has always been considered primarily an inventory software. So now the optical practices and locations to enter in, here's the eyeglass frames we have, here's the contacts we have, this is what we have in our location, that's what you have in yours. When a patient came in the door and bought something, then because it was an inventory system, it would decrement that or take that off of their inventory. So they went through to do inventory every now and then and check and see what they actually still had in stock. That's the main purpose of Optic. The ability to say what I have out by orders to patients, what ordered out to labs and facilities to bring stock back in, and then to manage that process. That's what optical management was and still is. The added transaction entry Familiar with EPM, and if you can put a green check and tell me how many of you are familiar with EPM and doing payments and batches and transactions in EPM. Okay, if you know that, what we're today is going to be the same exact processes, except for now we've hit it over and give the ability to the optical management or the optical staff in optical management in that application as well. So the only difference that we've added in 5.8 in regards to finance. With being said, that means I need to know how to, and we're going to have to train these people how to batch, what a batch means, what are all those fields in a batch, what's important, what do they have to have in that, how to balance a batch, how I take my physical cash out here, and now I have an electronic record that is tracked it, and I now need to make those two match so I can balance it out. Now, one of the things that has come up in the sessions is, well, how are the practices going to handle this or manage this? That is our practices. And we're giving them additional functionality, and it's going to be up to the practices to make the decisions on who is this process with the opticians, or they still keep it in their billing offices, and then how they're either going to hand off possibly to do things or lock things down. The other to look at is sales adjustments. Sales adjustments are the same. So for those who know Optic, there's no change to those. For those of you that don't know Optic, we're going to talk about what sales adjustments are, how those interact in the application, and what is the difference now when we've added these new finance processes in the application in optical management. The other we're going to talk about is deleting and voiding charges. And I have to say, this is probably one of the biggest pieces that we added on that I think that clients are going to love. My client had an order for eyeglasses. They're a frame. They're going to have two lenses, a lens for each eye. For each eye, it's going to have potentially a warranty, a UV coating, a scratch coat. Each of those is a line item charge that shows up in EPM. Optical staff had the patient call in and say, you know what, I found the frame elsewhere, cancel my order. Well, one button they click, it wipes out everything in Optic. What did happen is it didn't move it out of EPM, which is where all the billing happened. So now the optician had to talk to the billing department and say, oh, that patient canceled that order. You're going to have to go in and now line by line delete every single charge on that patient's order. Having to delete or cancel the order twice, once in Optic and once in EPM. With 8 now, we've actually given them the ability to have this crossover. It's now integrated so that when I take care of it in Optic, it removes it. EPM also. That is a huge piece. We're going to talk about how those work. Now, how many of you on the call are familiar with charges in EPM close out? Meaning when I have to void it versus when I have to delete it. Beautiful. Exact, you're halfway there. It's the same in Optic. If I get the charge today, it's deletable. If I create the charge from yesterday or any other day prior, it has to be voided. The caveat to that, because what there's money. So how can be money, and then how does that look in EPM versus how does that look in Optic? So those are going to be all the things we actually talk about today. Now that we've given clients in Optic the ability to deal with finance, they need to be able to see what the patient's balances are. We're going to talk about how balance control will assist them and look at patient balance, how they can actually see what other items a patient might owe on without having to touch each order. And actually a really nice feature based on the fact of how they have to look at the individual finances for a patient in Optic. All right. I'm going to move some chat boxes and things over to the other side so I can scroll down. To recap again of what it is we're going to be talking about in regard to the application in Optic and the changes. The first we're going to take a look at is session settings. I'm sure everybody's seen session settings before in EPM. Let me just close this out. This is settings in EPM. it is actually something that the client can actually have their user set up that says, every day when I log into the system, session settings to automatically pop up for me. We'll do that because they want to remind their staff, don't forget to create a batch. You may want to create an add location, whatever that might be. Well, I added that option management as well, but there's a lot of fields on here we don't need. Entire center section here regarding the process and service dates, that's going to be coming from the optical order, so we don't need that. So this we took away. In batch info, again, this is charge entry. We don't need this. It's all handled by the optical order. We've got enough tracking. The thing is the fact that if I bypass this when I log in, when it pops up, so user, if I was not in EPM, and I logged back into the application, what's up for me is my session settings. So I actually have it available to me so I can complete. If I don't want it, I can cancel out of it. And if it was by accident, then go ahead and I can trigger it again by coming up to tasks. All right? Let's see, it works in Optic. So in Optic Management, in settings. In some settings, you can see we've actually made this a little smaller. We give them only what they need. They don't need to have all this stuff about process dates and batch descriptions for charges. They don't need that information. All they need to do is have the ability to maybe create or select a financial batch for the day or potentially select a location. So settings works the same as it does in EPM for the client. And for an Optic, when I create an encounter in Optic, it's going to say the location for this encounter is. For batches, I have the ability to come in and select an existing batch that is open, or I can create what's called a quick batch. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. We're going to take this a piece at a time. Cancel out of this for a moment. I'm going to show you that over here under File, I have an option that says Session Settings. Under Menus, there's something that says Session Settings. So in Optic, one of the biggest differences with session settings, other than what is available in the field, is the fact that I can't re-trigger it. I do that so it pops up when I log in, but if I don't use it and I accidentally close it down, the only way I can get that to pop up again is it and look. I'm ahead and close this for a moment, and I'll log it one more time. Where we turned on is up here under Options. And up here, this is actually what it used to look like. So this is the options in Optical Management pre-5.8. So this red box that you're looking at is what it used to look like until they added this, and it's in it. So it's its own little tab just specifically for prompt for session settings. So as long as it's set, it will pop up, but again, I only get it at login. I don't get to have it again. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. And options, just so you know, these options, even though they don't say user preferences and they say options, these options are specific to the user who is logged in when they're editing these. These belong to me, the user, while I'm logged in. Log back in again. So I'm just going to trigger session settings again. Exit. Option that they've added in regards to creating batches, and it's called quick batches. So we're going to get a quick batch. Functionality is available in EPM and it's available in Optic. The thing about quick batches is a field that's going to fill in for me. It was to create a new batch create a new batch. Empty fields I need to fill in. Put in a description. I essentially need a tracking number. It default the date is to date, but if I need this changed, I might need to edit that as well. If I'm reading an optical batch, I have this checkbox for optical. I'd have to check this off as well. If you're using secured users, I'd have to come in and select this. So I was all done with that. If this is the batch that I'm going to use, I would then, on top of that, need to do a right click, and I would need to set this batch as active. It's a lot of steps. Let's look at quick batch. So I'm quick batch. I'm going to select my location. Then I come to my batch listing. I have one that's already active. It's the quick batch that I just created. If I open the header and take a look at this, description in, it's me as a secured user. It checked it off as an optical batch, and I already put it in the default date, which that's the norm. It's always going to put that in. But the nice thing is, as a user, all I had to do was put in the description. Now, as you know, descriptions, you guys know, you work with your clients. When we're using examples, we're doing them so that we can say, I need to use this for this example that I'm showing you in training. For optical shops and their ophthalmology offices that are going to be managing this now, they think about the descriptions. They're going to have those locations put in here that can identify them. So if I have multiple optical shops, I might want to put in here that this is the East Side Office Optical Shop, or it's North Side, or Paradise Valley, whatever those might be. I need to put something in that makes that stand out, that when my people or the manager comes in here, they know which optical office that belongs to. As you know, there's nothing on here that tells me what location that belongs to. With this being new for the optical shops, the more they can have that identifies this belongs to me, so there's no mistakes, the better. All right. Is there a question regarding session settings or in regards to quick batches? All right. Now, just using quick batch, the client still has the option to create batches within the application. Again, it's 2, 8. They logged into optical management. This is what it looked like in Optic. This red box right here was in space. It was there. Now, for those of you that know Optic, the only other icon they could potentially have in here would be for connection to VSP. Is that correct? Yolanda, I always get that wrong. But if you have that connection to that internet vendor, that icon would be here also. Other than that, the rest of this was blank. And 8 now have these icons. Now, do they have them here at the top? It's also accessible from File. So if I dash posting, it's just like if I was hitting this little bank building. So I get to my batches. And in here, not just from my session settings, I can do a quick batch here. So I don't just have to do it from session settings. So if a client doesn't want session settings open for their staff, they can definitely have them still use the quick batch option. And from here also. The other that I have is for patient balance. And the thing that is common in EPM, and it's the same in Optic, if there's an option that says patient, if sitting in a patient, I'm probably going to be able to do it. So click on this little option right here for patient balance. It's going to say, well, you might want to bring up the patient first. Without a patient, you're not going to be able to get any information. So it doesn't give you the search option. It's just when we're in EPM and we're in the patient's record and I say that I want to go and I want to write it. You don't have a patient up, sorry, you can't do it. Same thing in Optic. Entry, on the other hand, so this add transaction where I can actually enter transactions will come up. Because of the ability, if I want to pull this up, search for patient, and I can actually go in and apply payments. Same option right here, add transaction. And we're to the transaction screen in just a moment. I'm going to stick batches. Get them up. All right. So option in my header to say this is an optical batch. Why would that be? One, it's so that it keeps it in optic. Basically, it tags that and says, though it be viewable over here, transactions in both, this is the type of batch you are. And it's going to be necessary for when we actually set up our transactions for optic as well, or optical management. In EPM, when I bring up the posting icon, it's a little bit different. Now, let me do this. I'm going to pull this up here. And close this. I'm going to bring this in a second. Love this screen whenever I do these. All right, so I'm bringing up the batches again. And I want to tell me if you know anything different the batch listing screen or the batch posting screen. And tell me something different. The fact that one of them shows optical batches and one shows PM batches. What is the one thing that you can notice out of all of the options on the screen that might be new? And you can put it in chat or somebody can say it out loud.
Optical batches.
Yep, so optical batches is accurate. Yes, the other person that answered no active batch in PM, you are accurate. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I want to point out something about active batches. So they show optical batches option that has now been added in PM for the users. So could, if I wanted to, actually look at batches over in EPM. That's awesome. Most likely, because that's where all my billing happens, I need to be able to see both batches over there. But for now, the user does not have the ability to see PM batches in optical management at all. So it is crossover. So the option that's down here at the bottom is only available in EPM. There is no one that says that I want to see PM batches over here. It's only an EPM option. Now, in use as an EPM, it gives the user the option to say, I want to be able to see these three things checked off, and that's private. It's always said, since these were the only ones here, when I log in, I'll check off these ones as a default. I still have the option as a user to select them, but these are ones I want to have automatically checked. All right, so let's see what they did for this new option. So your preferences in EPM, here batch posting option. Anything here regarding my C optical batches? It's not been added. Now, as of 5/8, right now, is the case. We plan on putting in another checkbox in here to see how optical batches be a default check mark. That I do not know. Just as of 5/8, what we're getting, this is how it's going to be. So if I, as a user, want to see my optical batches, I have to select it. And select it, and I open it. Not stick. So say, well, I was just viewing them, go ahead and keep them open. No. As soon as I close this batch posting screen, that check mark's going to come undone, and I'm going to be viewing P batches only. Now, into active batch. You can have an active batch over here, but I not have an active batch over here. The same user. If I header on here, I'm the header, which I get it. the same, this is exact batch. The reason I'm showing you this is this question came up in one of my calls. If I'm saying user logged in, and you can see I'm in admin new, it's the same person that's over in over in Optic. In active batch over in optical management, and then I open EPM, that is not now going to make that batch my, I couldn't think of the word, my active batch in EPM. They're completely separate sets of activity. So no concerns or worries if I cross over between the applications, that is going to do that for me. It doesn't do that. I have two completely separate active batches in here. So I can say that my PM active batch is my front desk, and my active batch currently in Optic is this batch here. So I could have two active batches. All right.
Ask a question, Judy?
Absolutely.
I was noticing the batch number and that ID in that window there. The ID in PM is specific. Yeah, your same
ID number crossing over.
No, you don't actually. The day.
Well, if you're looking the quick batch, this is the one I did today that I just did a little bit ago.
Okay, good. Okay, I apologize.
No, because what you did point out though is that my ID numbers, now ID numbers we know are by day. So I do have some batches here from yesterday, so I will have those counts. But what I do is it's going to do a count, it looks like, separate from EPM and Optic. It's going to have a separate, so I can have more than one, more than two, more than three sitting here. But that's the norm for a lot of our clients anyways, because they don't have batches from multiple locations sitting in here open. I don't know how often they look at that, but it was a good question. That was a good question. All right. We've looked at creating a quick batch and what that can do for us. So now ask a few questions here and see if you guys are on track with me so far. So the first question, and this is going to give you an option to use, and for those of you that just joined us, welcome to our little group on optical management. We're going to do some little Q&A here. If you're not sure of the question that I'm asking because you were not present during that piece of the presentation, don't worry. If you'll click on the little emoticons drop-down arrow, there's a little face there that has a question mark on it. Just throw that one up there. That just lets me know that you weren't present. And for those of you that do know, be prepared. Be prepared. Simple questions. Oh, wait. Same batch number in both apps from what I can see. Yes. Okay. We got right. Did we get that answered for you?
Yes.
Michelle? I had somebody else ask the same thing. It said, all right, an answer like this, we just make sure. So, in regards to batch numbers, I'm going to have a different counting system in Optic than I have. I'm going to have my batches, I create them over there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the day, as well as I'm going to have in EPM my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that's over there. If I have batches from a previous day, then those are going to have the same because the count starts by day. You're going to see in here batches that were created today in optical management, and batches are 1, 2, 3. Over in EPM, this is a batch from yesterday, so here's my 1, up my 2 because I just made it active. It would have been in between, and I have 3. And then from the day prior to that, another batch that's still open. So we do have different batches here, and those counts are going to be based on when batches were created. I didn't know I had one from the 22nd here. Just look at something here. And we need to see when this has to be a change. Give me a sec. Yes. All right, that'll be the 23rd. I don't know why that's saying the 22nd. All right, so he's on the same page with that one. Thank you. All right, first question. Let me come over here. User in EPM, in order to see optical batches and have this checked off all the time, there are settings that I can check in my user preferences in EPM. EPM user, if I want to always have this checked off, there's a setting in user preferences that I can select that will keep this checked for me always.
Explain which one we're supposed to use for what, and I missed it.
Sorry. This down here for show optical batches. This one here is always, I can have it select and be checked off all the time by selecting a user preference in my EPM user setting. My user preferences. You that did answer, you answered correct. There's no user preference to have that selected. It's on the batch posting screen only, so there's no ability to have that always default checked. If I have that selected, I have to select it every time I log in order to see optical batches. All right. Quiz can only be created from session settings. My check mark, X, is my false. This can only be created from session settings. All right. Quiz can be created all over the place. All right, so quick batches. Right batches and my batch posting, I can create a quick batch here. Anybody for answering, and thank you for being, I appreciate you answering even though you can't. I think that's great. This is all about learning. So, and the reason I ask these questions I've specifically cherry-picked because these ones seem to be the ones that people, and it's important that you know these when you're working with the clients, as well as there's this little thing called an assessment you guys are going to do, and some of these might just come up. When it comes to doing quick batches, I can do them wherever I can create a new batch. In Optical, I can trigger batch posting. I can come here and create a quick batch. Now, available from session settings, absolutely, and I'll show you from EPM since I can trigger session settings in here. I can absolutely do a quick from here, but not the only place. And it's important because if a client wants their staff to be able to do quick batches because it's so easy just to create that descriptor, that it's nice to know that I don't have to worry about having that session settings trigger to pull up for them every single time. All right. Thank you again for with me on that. Right. This action entry option that's up here at the top, I'm going to go ahead and trigger this again so we can get a transaction entry screen. Now this is a transaction entry screen in Optic. This is action screen in EPM. Different of this? Which one of these are actually at the top? Give me just a sec here.
Order number in Optic.
That's one. So here's my order number. So that is new. That's something that I can actually see when I'm creating or putting in a transaction or a payment in Optical Management. That's one. But look at this toolbar. and look for in EPM. Someone is concerned about the type of access their optical staff is going to have in transaction entry. We have reduced it considerably because they don't need to go into the patient's chart in EPM. They don't need to go into the encounter and the insurance. They don't need to deal with all of these things. They don't come in and do claims or bill the encounter or create a task. They'll not be dealing with these things. So we have taken all of those icons away. Now, icons we did leave for them is we leave them an encounter. The two options we've kept from are balance control and also patient balance. The difference between balance control and patient balance is that balance control is specific to the encounter I pull up, and balance is specific to this patient in all visits, encounters, and billable services they've had in our practice, and what they owe that's now a self-pay balance by them. That's the difference between these two. This is your encounter balance, and the patient's overall balance with my organization or my practice in all locations. All right, bring up EPM again here. The fields that we have down here. Down here below, there's some fields that we've removed in this area. In regards to unapplied credits, there's a possibility or way to have unapplied payments in optical management. So we have unapplied payments in EPM is because a patient may present at the front desk and we don't know what services they're going to get today, but we need to get that money so we make sure they don't walk out the door. On the other hand, if I'm writing up an order for you, you've picked the frame, we've decided on the lenses that you need, or you've ordered contacts and we know what kind of contacts you need. Everything's happening all on the spot. So there's no need for an unapplied payment. That money is going to one of these charges I'm getting ready to put in. So we need to have this in there. The other is everything regarding claims. Anything regarding claims and rebilling and all of that, that's still going to stick with the billing department. The only thing we've given the optical shop the ability to do is add payments. That's what it's all about. It's adding payments. All right. Account there. Budget encounter and invoice. So in regards to what I can apply a payment to in Optic versus in EPM is I only have the ability in Optic to apply payments to account and encounter. And just know, if I select account is just like it is in EPM. Select account, it is going to bring up all encounters that are potentially owed by patient, all the encounters that have in all balances. Oh, there's a comment that came up. It says, so the pair will pretty much always be patient, and that is yes. And I will show you that because I'm going to go ahead and bring this transaction entry up in a patient. So I'm going to go ahead and search for a patient here real quick. All right. So I'm going to create a little accessory order for a patient today in Optic. Now it's going to give you an idea of the workflow in Optic if you've never seen it before. The other thing you're going to see is when payment entry actually becomes available to me in Optic. And the other is you're able to see the icons that actually sit in the order and when they appear. So these icons up here, whether and when they are available, as well as these ones that are up here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this back up. And in accessory order, apply payment to it. We're actually going to pay this off so you can see what it looks like. Location is defaulting because in my quick batch that I created for today, I went ahead and said I'm going to be working in the Northside Optical office in their optical shop, and so that's what I want to default on every encounter that I create. It is editable. And I want to show you this. When you set up your locations, you buy your locations in the application in file maintenance as your optical location. Identify a clinic that way or one of your locations. That location becomes available in the drop-down menu. Right here's the optical locations, this checkbox here. Set those up, those can become available to me here, and only those are available here. I don't remember how the batch screen looked, but I'm going to show it to you again in a moment as soon as I get this order created. This batch insurance, and because it is just accessories and cleaners and cloths and probably the insurance isn't going to cover, I'm not even going to put the insurance on. The optical order is an accessory order, we'll just say that. I have an eyeglass and a contact over here also. Up to the top, all of my options are grayed out that are not available to me until I actually have saved the order. So, down right here, transaction entry, not even available until I save the order. Add a payment, physical payment onto an order until after I have saved the order. So that we don't have unapplied, because I'm actually physically going to put in what that patient has decided to purchase. At that point, I'll have something to apply money for. So we're never going to not have a line item. We'll tie a couple things on here real quick. And one more. All right. So here's my patient's going to purchase. Discounts. We talked about discounts. They're in this first area, in this financial part of Optic. It then either accrues deck rent, the charges as they occur, or potentially takes off discounts that are applied or takes off payments that are applied. This side, you're going to see when I actually apply a discount. So I'm going to come to my discounts. Oops, wrong one. Say that the patient came in and they optical shop coupon for 20% off of their purchase. And add that. So right here it's showing me, and this looks almost like a mirror image. So here you can see what it's going to get ready to add. So he actually calculated the patient is going to get a $3 discount on purchase. That will be applied in this column right here. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I wish I could ask like 4 questions, but I'm going to make this, find a way to make this a yes or a no. In EPM, when payment today and batch is not posted, and I don't know if you know this term, is just penciled into the system, true or false. In EPM, when I apply a payment today and my batch is not posted, payment is penciled in, not inked in, it's not reportable. Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes to everybody that answered. Awesome. Okay. Guess what? In Optic, it works a little bit different with these discounts. With discounts, and this is existing functionality. This is nothing new. This is existing functionality. In Optic currently, it's not going to change. If there is a discount applied, the discount is immediate. It is immediately inked into the system. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Go over to EPM. I haven't saved the order yet. I need to save it. I'm going to go ahead and save this order. So the encounter, when I created this this accessory order, it created the encounter in the background. I'm going to bypass this. Show me my encounter number and its insurance attached. Here number is 1128. This is attached. I'm going to go EPM. Here are the accessories, and look what it did with the coupon. So it's already applied it. It is inked. So Optic, standard procedure, standard process, existing functionality. Coupon added to or discounts in the adjustment part of an order are immediate. Functionality is still the same in 5.8. It has not changed. All right. Any questions about that? Look after I save the order. Now I have an encounter, and now I have items I can apply money to. So I have my add transaction icon. Now I have my encounter balance icon, and also have my patient balance for overall account, what's going on with that patient in my organization. Now just take a payment. We're going to look at those other icons later. Look, same transaction entry screen, pulls in the order based on the fact that I'm adding a transaction right from the order. And this was a question that came up earlier. This completely grayed out. I do not have an option like I do in EPM. EPM. Select whether I want to do, let me just one that has those. I select the insurance or the patient. This is the M. On the other hand, I can apply a patient payment. That's it. So insurance payments coming in are going to always have to be done in the billing office as they always have been in optical practices. That's nothing new. That's how it's always been. This is giving them the option that when the patient is placing the order to take money. Now, can they continue to receive additional money as the patient's coming in and paying towards the order? Absolutely. And we're going to look at how they can do that. Look at this one right now for an order. Optical payments. So a file bill, this is probably the only thing the client's going to have to do. So in maintenance, the practice is going to have to come in and back to their transaction table and any optical payments that they need to put in. You have to say optical. I've done that for my training. I've done that for my examples. If they wanted to stand out to their staff, they can. They could do OM, capital OM, optical management. And it's a CC credit card or CK check. The thing that they have in here, and you'll actually probably have noticed this in 5.7, this already existed, was the option to actually set up a transaction as optical transaction. Once set up as that, it's available on here. If that's not selected, it is not checked off, it is not available here. So I'm going to patients paying cash. The total is 15, I think it's 1584, unless I'm not seeing the tax. We'll see. Yep. So this is the order. I'm going to save this. Oops. Yeah. It's 1284. That's fine. Now, save this. Have the option to actually utilize an unemployed in optical management? No, I do not. Can I create one? You can, and you just saw it. Now, Yolanda, this is what's going to be interesting, and the reason I'm calling out Yolanda on this is that she does a lot of training. She's one of our optical management trainers out in the field. Forms that are going to be using this process, you'll probably somehow touch on unapplied. With that, I'm actually doing discounts on these orders. Sometimes the discount doesn't show up on here. If I go back to the order itself, and I minimize this. I need to do this so you can see the order itself. If you'll notice, my order is less $12.84. What happens when you pull up the transaction entry screen is, oh, and I forgot, it's sitting right here. I wasn't looking at this right. If they're looking here and they applied this money or they look at it wrong, this is not going to take into consideration the actual discount that was applied. So they need to make sure to look over here, which was in the bottom corner underneath that window, or maybe before they leave this window on what it is. So it's again the right way. Now, if I put in too much money, okay, what do you want to do with the extra money? I put in $15.84, so it was going to apply everything it could to this account, and then it wanted to take the rest of it and put it in unapplied. This gets scary in our optical shops. If I don't key in the right amount, and I don't know what that window is that pops up, I know how to handle that, and who knows what button they might click on. So there needs to be some dialogue or discussion on that. Does anyone have any questions about what I'm talking about and what the method? A comment came in that, yeah, and typically I train opticians to post payments at the line item level to avoid unapplied credits. If I just come down here and I do this, oops, and I still, if I do this, should have no problem with an overflow. Now I still have an overflow. What did I do wrong here? I'll do this right. Give me some to log back into this. All right. So, this time? Yes. There we go. I'm going to save this. This transaction entry window, and you're good that the money is now applied down here. All right. We would say, well, that's not a big deal. It's just payment. Nothing different. Nothing's changed. This whole side of this screen has changed. I'm going to back to my little screenshots of a world prior to 5.8. This looked like prior to 5.8. So here's the screen we're looking at right now. Down in the bottom corner, where it says patient payment used to say deposit. Where it now says insurance paid, it used to say coverage. All was reference. None was entered in here, ever carried over to EPM, ever. Like optical management right now, and then I go over to EPM. Let me set this patient's record. You're going to set that optical payment is now here. This is new. This right here is brand new for optical management. Create, select a batch, add a transaction in the optical order. So something in here, when it used to be nothing but referenceable fee that said the patient gave me a deposit of. We called insurance and they said this is what they're going to cover. So the patient's insurance coverage is this. And they tell me as the optician, and this is how much I need to tell the patient I'm going to collect from them. They still call the insurance to get what the coverage is. They're going to need to do that. Show you they can put that information. Instead of deposit, they can also list it as a deposit. They can collect the money, but if they want to say it's a deposit towards making their notes, we're going to look at a place where they can do that. So it was actually taking a huge order. I have this huge notes piece over here. So I could put in here, this is my patient's deposit, or list with insurance coverage. And I come here that they are going to cover, and we'll do this, they're going to cover $10. Would probably make more sense on an actual eyeglass order, and we're going to have one up. So insurance coverage is this. If I like that, I can see it down here. And then once I take a deposit, I can put so for tracking, I actually follow the process in optical management if I need to. We can just allow that to be part of what's going on in EPM. That's up to, again, to the optical shops. If I want to know the details, this is what I need to do. Because there's no other ability as money accrues to actually show what's happening in optic. It just fills in money. If the patient comes in and makes another payment, it just adds it here. If I then take an insurance payment, it just shows me that in here. See if it was 2 insurance payments, 1, if it was 3 patient payments, whatever it is, all I see is the lump sum in optic. So what's suggested by the development team for optical management when they set this up is that the clients are looking to have detailed follow-through or follow-up in optic itself of what was the deposit, when was the deposit, was there insurance, all of that. They can use the notes field for that. That's where they are right now with that development. Back on EPM. This is the piece I needed you to see that is different when it comes to discounts and money. This is the practices they're used to. Only apply a coupon, it was inked immediately. Now apply money, and it's going to act like it does for us in EPM, and it's going to only add it as penciled in until someone balances and posts that batch. So they will have 2 sets of financial activity on the patient on top of the charges. Are they about that? Okay. Back over to and close the patient. Optic. All right. Because now in an actual encounter, I can hit balance control. Actually, I'm going to wait to use this. I'm going to show you another place where we can actually see this being useful. But I am going to select this one so you can see this. And this is not just this encounter, not just optical orders. This is every encounter that the patient has with practice and a total of anything that patient owes within the organization that is paid. All right, I'm going to go to this order. Please take another payment. I have orders here that are already completed. I've got a contact lens order. All right. The question is, the adjustments will not show when balancing in EPM posted in optical management. And on the ledger, you mean for when they do payments, within their payments? Is that what you're asking? Okay.
Correct.
So this is the question that was asked, and it's a good question, so thank you for that. What is balance? Not balancing yet, but I'm going to just talk about balancing real quick. When I'm getting ready to balance, I can come up here and select the icon from my toolbar, or while I'm in an order, I can balance. When I balance, I'm going to balance the normal way. I'm going to bring the ledger in my header, and I'm going to actually probably have printed my batch listing and looked my detail and probably balanced everything out. On here, do you see the adjustments that we did on that patient, that discount they got? This is going to be payment activity only. Any done on the transaction entry screen, this is where I'm going to see it. And the reason is this is not posted and balanced yet. The other, and it's always been the case, and I'll come over here because it actually says it in the patient's record. I'll show you. Auto adjustment batch. I did not create that. It's done in the background. It is automatically created when any type of a discount in Optic is applied. It creates a batch in the background. If I like to, under posting, even locate a batch that says that, there is no such animal. So to those transactions, it's immediately committed to the system. It's an internal or background batch. And these, if I needed to get rid of them because they were inaccurate, I would have to remove them by reversing them, just like I had transactions that I maybe had posted from a batch. Does any questions about that step? We'll be looking at that again. All right. Close this order for this encounter. Optic. All right. Let me close and this. All right. So our contact lens order, you can see here. Let me try this again. Patient's financials down here. They bought contacts. It came to a total of $444. These are charges that were placed today, so this is an encounter in order from today, 7/24. If I go over into actual application, this is my same-day order. Order 1 is actually encounter number 1125. So here are contacts that are purchased, no payments. It's in here right now. I'm going to head in here and I'm going to apply a payment. I'm going to come off of this for a moment. Optic. Transaction. It's a credit card. Now, this is going to look at these icons with you. The patient's going to be paying me $222 for each set of contacts. This is a contacts for each eye. Optical shop had called their insurance and they had identified that the patient owed $100 for each of those boxes. We'll say they owed $50 for each eye, for each of their eyes, for their deductible or whatever it might be for when they see an optician. The reason that I would need to have my balance control is that as of right now, according to my system, I'm saying that all of that money is out to the insurance. So now if I took any money from the patient, $50 for each eye or from each line item, now what's going to be having happen is that in the background, if somebody in my finance department runs reports, it's going to look like this patient has a $100 credit coming back to them. System has that entire money sitting in insurance bucket. Over here in patient, it says 0. And as soon as I would take and put in here that the patient is giving me $50 and save this, let me come here. Once I post this batch, it's going to look like this patient has a $100 credit. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to do it again. If you have a client that's saying, well, why would my users in optical management need to have access to balance control? It's that them put the money that's owed by the patient per what they find out, because they do it anyways. If they're calling insurance for coverage, they know the insurance is going to cover and what they're not going to cover. Or if there's a deductible or a copay. This patient had a $50 copay 7, 8, 9, 10. If I took the, now I'm just going to say 100, it'll make it easier for me. So I'm going to say that the patient has, we'll say a $22 copay for each eye. So $34 now is sitting over here for the patient to pay. Now, insurance is still going to get billed for the whole amount. Don't get me wrong. Insurance is still going to get billed for the full $444. But it looks in the system, if anybody ran a financial report, we're covered at it. Everything is good. There is nothing outstanding that we owe the patient, no credit. What owes is now paid, and what the insurance is going to pay is pending. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay here. Now also when I come up here and I put in 44, it knows that those two line items is where it has to disperse that money. If I had not moved that money over to the patient balance, this would have stayed open because it wouldn't have known where that money needed to go, which is another nice thing. I'm going to go to this patient gave me a credit card. I'm going to save this transaction, and we're good. That shows the patient's payment. Now this is actually going to display over an EPM. And there's the $44. Pending the payment being posted. Questions regarding that step? We're going to pull up this eyeglass order. The reason I'm doing on the different kind of orders is it's important, especially if you haven't seen Optic before, that you see the detail and the amount of line items that are appearing over in the application. Line accessories. It's not a lot of line items that the client had to come in and delete before. So here's my accessories. Here's my cash payment. Here's my coupons. So before in the application, when they deleted, I'd have to hit each line item. We're going to look at how that. This is a glass order. This one we're getting ready to work on right now. That's a lot of line items that I would need to touch or potentially see what the patient owes. Contact lens order. So it's actually showing just the 2 line items, 1 charge for each eye. So depending on the type of order makes a difference on the type of detail that the client would be dealing with in EPM and in Optic. My order is completed here. I'm going to go in, and this time I'm going to just apply payment only. I'm going up here to my balance control, and while I'm on this screen, we're going to point out a few things that have been added. Been added to the balance control screen that we haven't had before. Our order number is all brand new. We did not have order number on the screen before. Actually, would only show the SIM number, the encounter that you are on. So here's my encounter number. We have all added SIM description. Now, as I said, this is where I would come in as the optician to say, well, I called the insurance. It said that you have a $50 for your frame. So there's my 50. They also said that if you want this anti-reflective, they're going to pay $750. So you're going to have to pay the $10. It can come through here as the optician. I can take these out and make sure that these are falling into the patient bucket, and little by little, it's adding up for me what I need to collect from the patient. Scrub, we'll pay dollars. If it's going to keep those glasses longer, we'll pay that much. And I don't know if they pay anything really. But here so far that I've got added up for the patient that they owe. Go ahead and say okay here. And now I can put in what the patient owes. So they owe me here, 10 here, 10 here. And on scratch code, I think they owed 10. Or forget which one I did. 10 and 10. Okay, perfect. Select how they're paying me. Recalc and save. Money's applied. And everything's clean in the application. About that? no. Your green check mark is going to be your yes, and your X is going to be your no. Post a transaction to an order. In order to post a transaction to an order, the order must be saved first. True or false? Correct. All right. Go ahead and take your check marks off. To apply a discount, the must be saved first. Correct. Great. So let me say something else about that. You can go ahead and take your X's off. Here's a little discount option. This is why it's important that the client understand the difference between these processes now. Discounts can only be put on an order up to the point that I save it. Once I saved it, I've locked it in. I cannot apply a discount. Now, it's not to say that over an EPM that the billing office can't go in and physically, in transaction entry, add a discount. They can do that. But it will not be tracked in discounts like are here in the application on the order. Whereas, on the other hand, for my payments or transactions to be entered, it has to be saved. So you can see it's grayed out now in order for this to even become available for me to use that option. EPM. Go back up to my last order and see my payment here. That's what I put in. Question came in, so if I change the amounts on the balance control window, does it also change the amount on the claim? And the answer is no. The claim is always going to get the total amount that is sitting. So if I was in balance control, this column still shows, as well as INS1, it shows the amount that's going to the insurance. But over here, it's just saying, and out of that, that is what I'm going to be collecting from the patient. So all I'm doing is saying, this is who owes what, but the full amount will always still go out to the insurance. All right. Look at the documentation and make sure that we're on track with everything. Oops, this is it. All right. So session settings. So we talked about that. Let me scroll down. If I make anyone dizzy, I apologize. The posting icon. We talked about what's available on the actual toolbar in Optic itself. We also talked about that is available immediately when you come into an order. But I saved the order, and you can see this is an example or a screenshot of an order that's saved, and it's gray. This transaction entry icon back here and these others are not available. It also says that from the main toolbar, I can also from file. So from the main toolbar, I can go in and actually do a payment also. You can scroll down. We have optical indicator for batches. That's available in EPM and in Optic. And if they also have controls on their optical shops and the money and creating batches and all of those things, sometimes they want to have the front office, business office actually create the batches for them and set them as optical. They can absolutely do that so that they're in there for them to now select and use when they go into the application. That is now available in EPM, so I can actually view optical batches. It is not an option that is available for view within management. I don't need it because I'm in optical management, so those will be the batches that I see. In fact, those will be the only batches that I see. And on the other hand, I could actually have this selected, and I would see optical batches as I would see my EPM batches. Both optical and EPM batches in EPM, but I can only create optical batches in optical management or see optical batches. We talked about quick batches and how they're available even outside of session settings. So I can actually go to batch posting. So I can go to the little bank building. It pulls up my batch listing. I can select new. Once I select new, I can do quick batch. Same thing if I wanted to, I could actually come up to file and I could do it from here. It would then show me posting, and from there I would get to the same location of this little batch listing screen, and I could do a quick batch from there as well. Quick, all I have to do is put in a description. The rest of it gets done for me. If I have anything else on the header, I can still open the header and edit it. So for us, it's automatically going to put the description that I put in it. It's going to put the default date for to date that I'm creating it. It's going to automatically, if I do this in optical management, select it as an optical batch. And because of me being logged in, it will secure it to me. I think that's pretty sweet. Trans entry icon is immediately available on the toolbar in optical management. If I trigger it, and I'll go back to Optic, let me get a patient. Trigger it, I have the option to come in here and I can search for a patient by name. And what it's going to bring up the first available order that the patient has. If I select another, just like in EPM, I can select a different order that or encounter that I want to deal with. I will show you and tell you that if you come into transaction entry this way, it does not pull in the order number. And currently, and I don't know, I'm afraid to do this, some issues with you trying to search by order number. And I'm sure part of it is because a patient could have more than one order 2 or more than one order 3. And queue numbers are individualized. And I add another option here that says accessories, then order number, or contact lenses and order number. I do not think that you will be able to search on order number because of the repetitiveness of the order number. Does that make sense to you guys? You can use green check marks. I think I pointed out how they could have, okay, because my contact lenses have a count and my eyeglasses and so on, so it can end up indicating. Okay. All right, one person's saying no. So let me go back to Optic real quick. Or actually, I'm in Optic, so we'll come out of here. All right. In optical management, when it comes to orders, let me open these up. See, when it comes to orders in optical management, the orders can repeat. So let's see. So here I have an order number 12, and I have an order number 12 up here. So I have an accessory order number 12, and I can have an eyeglass order number 12, and I can have a contact lens order number 12. Because if I'm in the transaction entry screen, even if on a patient, if I put 12 in here and that patient has 2 12s, the system's going to know which 12 to bring up. On me before when I was trying this. I'm hoping, there it goes. Brought up one of them. Which one did it bring up for me? Eyeglass order. Back over. See what I have here. So that's eyeglass order number 12, which is actually a voided order. And order number 12. So this may be both. Let me see. I think this would be all eyeglasses. This is all eyeglasses. Okay. Makes sense to everybody? I mean, because, if I did not want order number 12 glasses, I wanted order number 12 contact lenses, it doesn't know how to look for that detail. Or there's nothing set up in here yet to give us that. 04. Let me close the list. And Julie, it does say 404.
Yeah, try those buttons buttons up at the top. See, there's page over buttons. Maybe that takes you to the other order 12.
You mean here?
Yeah.
Because this would only be for transaction activity, so I don't know what 4 of 4 means.
Well, did you say there were 4 order number 12s there? That's what I was wondering.
The patient can have up to 3. There's only accessories, contacts, and glasses. So they have up to 3 of the same number. This patient happens to have 2 of the same number, I think is what I pointed out. So it has 2 number 12s. I have an accessory order number 12, and I have an eyeglass order number 12. What happens when I put 12 in here is it pulls up eyeglass order, which is actually a dead order. It's a canceled order. Yeah, it is. I'm going to have to find out what that means.
That's how many pages are in that.
Oh, we can have transpired here.
Yeah.
Let me clean this up. I'm going to pull this off the screen. And I'll go ahead and pull up the transaction entry screen again real quick. And I'm going to clear the patient. All right. So I'm pulling up transaction entry, no patient, no orders, nothing. Select again. Pardon?
Look, it still says, what did it say, 404 there? I can see my little thing. Yeah.
You're right, it does. The speaking thing was laying on top of it. It does say 404 already.
It's just
Yeah, I don't, all right. We'll catch that, though. Thank you for noticing that. If it comes up again, at least I'll be able to address it. Well, the order number, well, actually, let me try this. Okay. So I would use the actual search option, and they actually, if I select the type of order down here, then put in the order number, a better chance of getting a clean and no errors. Okay. I will do, if they're going to use this option in optical management, most likely they're going to be searching for a patient first, and after they have the patient up, they're going to come in and they're going to take the payment on whatever the order is. All I have to do is come right to transaction entry to enter it. All right, let me go back to the document. Transaction entry again, I can actually hit it from the icon. I can do a search by patient encounter, by the patient name. I can do search by order, which we just saw. And also when I'm in the order itself, I have the transaction entry icon available within the order. All right. This message you saw at the beginning when I selected the transaction entry screen, transaction option from the top of the toolbar. If I do not have a patient selected like I do right now at the top, if I select this option for transactions, it's not going to know who to add a transaction to. I need to have, and actually I take that back, it has to do with an active batch. If I do an active batch, it will not let me use this. Back to my document. This is doing the differences between an EPM and a optical management transact entry screen and how many fields it's removed. Here's number search as well as where it displays the order number on the actual payment entry screen itself. We talked about us being able to only select encounter or account in entry. I can select patient in payment entry. Credit icon does work just like it does over in EPM, so if the client does have the credit card processes set up for electronic credit card processing, they get the same process available to them in optical management. They have to have all that all set up. This is one of the things, I don't know if you noticed this when I was in this field. We are doing EPM that if a field is available to us, it is white. I made sure to note that this field is active and I can search for it. You saw me use it. But in order to search for it, just be aware it's never going to turn white for you. I come here and hit the icon, and then once I'm in that search option, select the type of order that I'm looking for, the order number, that's where I then get my white field. This one will never turn white for you. I do ability also to actually select a batch while in an order. So I have not actually created an order or order a batch, or I want to add this to a different batch. I can actually access the batch posting option from within an order, which is awesome. That once we're actually in an encounter and we're in transaction entry, it's a done deal. But to order and have the option to by order, maybe select different batches is really nice in here. Optional sales adjustments, we did talk about how this process is not changing. So they will be able to add their discount, they usually do. They will add directly to the system as they always did. They immediately go in and commit to the system. There is nothing new about that. Batches. In Ray's session, he went over this, but I'm going to go ahead and go over it again. The rec option is available so that clients can actually balance out. So I have the ability, if balancing my physical cash, I can say, okay, here's a $100 credit card. Here's a $20. I've got this many in cash, this much in cash. I have this check, and I have this credit card. I'm balanced. And then once all that actually matches, I would then balance this out as I always do. Post the batch. And I actually have the option display my report. So I could say we're actually reconciled on that screen. This option is also available in Optical management. So management as users, we can do the same thing here when I'm balancing. I have to reconcile. Updates. Using immediately while we were actually on those patients' records. So I added a patient payment while I was in that order, it added it. I know it actually continues to add those amounts. So we're going to go into Optical management and bring up an order, and we're going to actually apply an insurance payment to it. And 13 is the one I want, this one right here. Here, I want you to see right now there is no money on this record. But we're going to go in and we're going to take an insurance payment on this order. We go over in EPM. At encounter 1085. Right here, this is the actual order itself. So here's order number 13. I'm going to come in and I'm going to add, and let me try I have an active batch. On this one. I'm going to do an insurance payment to this one. I'm going to save this. Come back over to Optical management. This is the money that I applied from that that insurance. It's immediate. So I have to wait to post that batch. Any insurance monies that are being taken over in the business office, even though they're not inked in, so that's not inked money, but it's already registering, forming over in Optic. So in the event a patient calls the optical shop or walks in to make a payment, I can see what's been paid towards the order. As any additional payments that are coming in, and again, this is where we said the ability for the people in the optical shop to see how and when and who pays amounts and the frequency, they would have to probably get it from the EPM billing staff, or they could use their notes over here to actually track that information. All right. We're going to take a look at deleting and voiding charges. And I'm going to start out with a set of charges and transactions that are from today. So I'm going to start out with the orders that we have from today. I'm actually going to create another order that has no payments on it first. I'll create another accessory order real quick. And we took this at the beginning, and all of you actually acknowledge this. You know in EPM that when it comes to being able to delete or void charges, it's depending on when that charge went in. So if charge went in today, delete it, or do I have to void it? You can say.
If it's the same day, if they go through the night jobs, then you delete it.
Exactly. Same, absolutely. Same thing here in Optic. Let me just add a couple items here real quick. Okay. I'll save this order. Oops, I forgot me and my tech that served them. We do work missions, so I need to make sure to get my name in there. So I've got the order in here. This is from today. Screen, I'm like, oh my, I just put this order on the wrong patient. This is not who this is supposed to be on. So I want to delete this order. So the difference between delete and cancel for the most part in Optic, and this would be with anywhere, if I never meant this to be on you, I need to get rid of it. I don't need to have any record of it whatsoever. Well, record of it now, it's order number 33 in Optic, and on top of that, there's a related encounter over in EPM. So the EPM encounter is 1129. Over here now, I now have an encounter in here. In different places. All right. Remember, it's 1129. I'm going to come over in Optic, and I'm going to say, okay, I don't need this. I need to get rid of this. I'm going to come up here, and I have delete. I'm going to hit my delete. And I want you to see this. It is completely wiped out. Delete means delete. Gone. Obliterated. I can't see anything. It's not there. So I need to know when I hit delete. I didn't even get a warning. Are you sure you want to delete this? When I hit delete, it was gone. Now, if I go over to EPM, they're still here, but they're on it. Again, workflow process, how the client decides to handle this is going to be up to them. The good part is these are gone. I find items in here, and previous to this version, user would have to come in here, put the charges in line by line, delete, 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 then come back to the encounter and potentially delete the encounter. A lot of it's done now. All I have to decide is a practice, do I want to come in and delete this encounter also, if it was never supposed to be here. So the workflow process they need to decide on. Delete line. I'm going to go back to Optic. Accessory order that has both an adjustment and has a payment in it. But I do believe that this is in an open batch. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this order. And delete it. A user is trying to delete an order in Optic that has an active open batch payment or transaction on it, they will get this message. So I notice up at the top it says error deleting the charges as there's open transactions. So it says that I need to take care of those first, all right? Cancel now because I want you to see the message is the same. So regardless of delete or cancel, I'm going to get a message that lets me know there's open transactions that I need to take care of first. I'm truly not supposed to have this order. I need to make sure, and that is not what I wanted to click. Give me a second. I come into my ledger. We do an EPM and to delete this transaction set. And now I get this order. So it's all been taken off. So now if I go over to EPM, here it is here. So I still have charges here. The reason I had to void these versus delete them, even though these are from today, is because of these right here. And whenever there's anything already set in stone on an encounter, those records cannot be obliterated. That trail, that history, that trail exists. So what it did is it went out and it voided the charges. You can see the negative to take each of them off. And what I now need to do per that message is I need to reverse out these discounts to beat this process. So because those discounts apply immediately in stone, they're inked to the system, I have to physically come out and reverse those. Because it was an open batch, I was able to delete it. And then my charges were because those transactions, these here, were already attached to them, because you cannot delete ones that have charges on them. Are there questions on that one? That one's all more. Yes?
Nothing. I was talking to myself.
Okay. Was it a good job for that one? It's going to be a little easier. So I have payments. The payments from today. The charges are from today. Now, I know if I come up here to cancel, I'm going to get that message. There's an open payment. I know that I need to come up to the batch, into that payment, Now, there's no discounts, remember. There's no discounts on this one. This is cash payment only. Encounter number for this one, so this is 18. The encounter number is, let's see, where's my little note here? 1136. Or 6, this is it right here. As you can see, that payment's gone now. I took it off. All that's left is the charges. We're to Optic, and I'm going to cancel this order. Canceled order, what it does is it puts a little red circle with a line through it saying I canceled this order, and if I open it up, it looks like it's grayed out, but it does like a faint blue, and you'll see all the financial activity is wiped out. So it does keep a record. So the difference between cancel is I need to have a record the patient did this. Maybe they're a habitual, we're going to see what you have, then we're going to go someplace else, and they keep doing it, and we keep doing these orders and getting stuff in that they end up not purchasing. I want that trail. All right, I'm back over here. Gone. So as long as we don't have any adjustments, it's clean. Zap there, zaps it from EPM, delete the encounter, we're good. Now, because I canceled it, you want to keep this record. Again, up to practice. So maybe they want to come in here and they want to put a note that says that I just canceled. This was an encounter that was attached originally to a canceled optical order. Or maybe having it in optic is good enough. All right. Look at what it looks like from previous day. So let me just pull up another patient, and then I know we're getting into the 10 hour here, so with me, we're almost done. So patient that has financial activity from yesterday, and what happens, they have some orders in here from yesterday, and one of these orders has a payment on it from today. This one here has no payments on it whatsoever. And this one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete this order. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how it looks over in EPM. So this is order number 29. And it's actually, is that order 29? All right, let me look here for my counter number. There we go. 111. All right. And 11111. Here's that order. Here's all the activity. All it is charges only, no financial payment, no payments. I'm going to go ahead and delete this order. Gone. And this is yesterday. I want you to know, in Optical Management, I could actually come in to an order way back here that paid in full with nothing owed on it, and I could still delete this order. It could be dispensed and completely done. Just know that Optical does let that happen. Who's doing that, but it does happen. If I go over now, those charges from the day were from the day before, they have to be voided. Standard EPM functionality. If it's from today and there's no post-transaction, it can be deleted. In yesterday or any day previously, it has to be voided, and so that's what it's done, is it's voided those charges. All right. Back over the order. This one has payment on it of $100. Go ahead and cancel this order. To void it. Here to EPM. Rated those charges, but it warned me, oh, by the way, you have a payment, and if you really want to void this, two are already gone, but you need to take care of this transaction. So I need to come in here and reverse this transaction also. Complete that process. And let me just see something here. This is my previous day batch. Open. So that would be 1124. One thing. Go ahead and delete, cancel. I'll cancel this order. Come back to Optic or to EPM. Which now have been voided. So all the activity it did for me. What that used to be like when the clients had their optician say, oh, by the way, that patient canceled their order. I need you to go in and delete all those charges. And they had to hit line by line by line to delete every single charge in that patient's record. And the system is doing it for them. The only step they have to come back and do is this. I would say that's pretty sweet. All right. Now I have one more example that I want to show you on the delete, the open batch. So we have, where's my open batch? Here we go, 1123. Okay. So this is an order from yesterday. This is a payment from yesterday. That is still open from yesterday, and that happens. This is order 20. I'm going to go to Optical Management. Here's 20. Payment on here. I'm going to cancel this order. So regardless of if it's a yesterday charge or any other previous charge to today, or a day charge, if it has financial activity that is open, meaning the batch is open that money is sitting on, it will not let me delete or cancel that until I take that money off. Now, when I take this money off of this one, it will then void these charges because they're from the day prior. The other one we had, because they were today's charges, and it was from today, when I deleted the payment, it then deleted the charges. All right. Are you got that? All right. We're going to do two more things. Let me just bring up the document real quick. We just talked about orders and those. Let me just through these real quick. We're showing you there was a payment on the patient's record. The patient payment was in an open batch, so the user got a message. Now, the one thing I want to point out on these, regardless, and I think I showed this to you in the application, regardless of whether I select the option to delete or cancel, I am going to get a message that says error deleting. So it is not the user, they didn't hit the wrong button, it always says error deleting. So they've created a single error message pop-up for instances, and down below it tells them what they need to do with that money. All right. Then here's one actually posted, so when I went and deleted that one and had it voided, it tells me, well, they were taken away successfully, those charges, but where you've got to come in and take care of that payment that was left behind. There's another shows it being voided. The batch was open. I got the same message. Again, any unposted money. Once I get rid of that money, it tells me or not the money. Once, if it's a post batch, I'm going to get this message, and I've got to go in and reverse those payments. Control. This is just talking about balance control. Now, this be something users in the practices or the practice doesn't want their optical staff to get to. But as you saw, if I don't want my AR being thrown off by what I'm receiving from patients versus what my system physically says is owed in the patient versus insurance bucket, this is actually really nice. They are used to checking with insurances to see what the coverage is and telling the patients. This now gives them a place where they can, line item by line item, identify those amounts. So it's nothing new for them. Now they have a place to put that information. Pieces of information in here are the description of the service and order number. The option that they have is patient balance, and there are 3 new fields in patient balance. Now in this screenshot, these are being reordered, but these are brand new, and that's insurance paid, patient paid, and total adjusted. So from an optical user standpoint, I can see where the patient stands and where and who's been paying on those items. Again, they've not added an order column within here. They have encounter only, but there's still no order column in the self-pay balance. All right. Instead.